And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, him.
Right, attention to roll call.
That's right. Good morning, everybody. President duty, 8:05 Eastern time for me, 5:05 still dark outside Pacific time. It's been some crazy weather over here. The winds have been wild. There's fires going on in California. It's actually a little cold. Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, wow, what happened to the sunshine? But anyway, listen, good morning, everybody. I think this is a great topic. There's news every day. You know, I get calls from cops all the time, and they say, what are you guys going to do when you run out of content? Brother, we will never run out of content. So before we jump into this, I just wanted to ask you if you saw. So a lot of people have taken to TikTok and Instagram. I've seen a lot of videos where there's some type of deep state belief when it comes to the arrest of Luigi Mangione in regards to the death of Brian Thompson, the CEO. What are your thoughts on that? There's a lot of people, they don't believe it. They don't think this highly educated, well-rounded kid from a wealthy family is capable of this. So what do you think about it? Have you seen it? I see you laughing.
I mean, dude, it's just the state of where we're at. First off, I'm glad that we are up and our volume's working. So shout out. Yesterday, I have no idea what happened. Everybody's asking. I have no idea what happened. I just reset everything. I unplugged all the different streams, the places we stream. I reset it. I don't know what happened. I restarted my computer and then it worked. I don't know. I put in, but I'm glad we're up today. But dude, it's just the state of where we're at, man. You got some people, starting a fan club because they believe him to be a murderer and a hero. You have other people fishing to see like if there's something more there than there's not. And, and like I'm talking like mainstream too, trying to push it. Like, where is this? What happened? Something came out I think early this morning, actually, that a professor at Penn University, she has purple hair, of course. She tweeted how proud she is to be from Penn after following the murder of a 50-year-old man, father of two. And I just think the state of where we're at, I mean, listen, people just don't trust anything that's coming out from the mainstream corporate America. They don't trust anything that's happening in the government. And honestly, whose fault is it? Could I sit there and blame anyone for saying, I don't believe that was him? First of all, I don't know for a fact that was him. And nobody does, right? None of us know for a fact anything until we get more evidence. I mean, by all the evidence that we have, it appears to be him, right? Did he just happen to be sitting in Altoona, Pennsylvania? What the hell was he doing in Altoona, Pennsylvania? How did he have a loaded firearm on him with a silencer? I mean, the manifesto, people are saying, the manifesto was placed on him. He didn't write it. Cops wrote it. It's a sad state, man. But, I honestly don't even blame these people. I go back to 2020. I go back to all that. I mean, that was a mass propaganda campaign on all of us when, it started with the Black Lives Matter. It started with the virus, into the Black Lives Matter, into the shot, into the Ukraine, and it just keeps going, right? And this is like the latest thing in the media, and this is going to be a media buzz for a very long time, dude. So I don't blame anyone, but I got to sit back and laugh because I'm just going to sit here and comfort knowing that I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I only know what's on that news, and I don't even know all of that. Like, I was on the news last night. I wouldn't talk about the manifesto because I was not even sure that the law enforcement had put that out. It came out from a reporter. So, like, I don't know. I know I'm comfortable in knowing I don't know anything.
Well, you have to admit this case is odd, right? It is particularly odd. There was a lot of sloppiness surrounded the actual shooting itself, which I think was intentional. But even with that being said, it is odd that going through all those measures, which I think the sloppiness, I believe, was planned and intentional. It just seemed too sloppy. It seemed over the top. But then to be caught sitting in a McDonald's. I mean, for someone in Altoona, Pennsylvania, to make that ID in that phone call, it is strange. So, in order to put people at ease and actually convince them that this is actually the alleged shooter, there should be more transparency. And I think this case is lacking transparency. You have to figure why now. I think it's day 7 or day 8 into this case. So with that being said, there must have been a lot of information obtained. I'm sure there already has been some search warrants probably conducted on where Luigi Mangione actually lived. So we have to assume some electronics were obtained. And in those electronics, we would get a lot of information. So I think that's what is necessary, transparency in this case. We've identified the potential alleged shooter. We've identified backpacks information. We identified the location he was found. But they still have not went into depth on the actual motive. And that's why there's so much speculation. And that's why there's so much belief on this potential deep state stuff, because they're not providing information. So they should give some more information out there and be a little transparent. I find it hard to believe at this point that they have no idea why he picked Brian Thompson, that they have no idea, if not Brian Thompson, he picked that location. Maybe he was looking for any CO or anyone, any employee from that company. So a lot of information missing. So that's really the key to this, is transparency. So with that being said, I think we can put this to bed and move on to our topic, unless you have anything to add.
No, yeah, let's just talk about the supposed manifesto. Again, I don't know that this is confirmed, you know. I some people, some news agencies are confirming it, others aren't. I haven't heard this come out from the authorities. I agree. I think the way to combat misinformation is through factual information. I don't even want to say misinformation, but just I don't even want to say that, because nothing's misinformation, right? And you having a theory about something, to me, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with having theories if there's clues for you to have those theories or reasons for you to have those theories. Often I speak to a lot of people. Some people have conspiracies, but they're not well thought out in their theories that they have, right? And it's like, well, why do you think that? And then when you start to break it down, they really don't believe that. It's just they don't trust the system. And so this is supposedly the manifesto, and I think if this is legit, then I mean I think it tells you everything you need to know in here, and I think it's mental illness is at play. So to the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. To save you a lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. This was fairly trivial. Some elementary social engineering, basic CAD, a lot of patience. The spiral notebook, if present, has some straggling notes and to-do lists that illuminate the gist of it. My tech is pretty locked down because I work in engineering, so probably not much info on there. I do apologize for any strife or trauma, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder, the U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly 42 in life expectancy. United is the indecipherable word, is the largest company in the U.S. by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, Walmart. It has grown and grown, but has our life expectancy? No. The reality is these, another indecipherable word, have simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Obviously, the problem is more complex, but I do not have space, frankly, and I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument. But many have illuminated the corruption and greed. Rosenthal and more. So I think what he's talking about with Rosenthal, said Rosenthal and more decades ago, and the problem simply remained. I think what he's talking about here is I think Rosenthal wrote a book on the healthcare system, and Michael Moore, I'm pretty sure he's talking about Michael Moore, the documentary filmmaker, where he did that documentary Sick or Sickos. I forget the name of it. I think that's who he's talking about. I'm not sure. But again, we don't know. It's It's not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly games of power. Evidently, I am the first to face it with such brutal honesty. What do you think about that manifesto?
Listen, I don't believe that. I don't believe that some cop wrote it, but it is a little strange, brother. And we talk about deep state stuff, and I'm not saying that this is where they went, but the CIA is known of doing some strange things in this country. So I'm not saying they're doing that, but I'm just saying that, that's why people believe. You have the CIA has done some strange things in this country for experimental reasons, and we're not. This case just doesn't look strange. A lot of information not put out there. That's why, ultimately, if the NYPD, along with the FBI, is extremely transparent in this case, providing more information, it will put people at ease and alleviate these ideas or theories that this may be some type of deep state issue. It's not beyond the realm of possibility, but it would be strange. That's why it's really important at this point. And it would be extremely notable to provide some information on the modus operandi, right? That's really what we need to know. I mean, the only thing I find strange is when this kid's saying he acted completely alone. I mean, it takes a lot to carry this out by yourself. I think that there definitely has to be other people involved. One person, maybe more, not necessarily, completely involved in the actual event, but at least to help him provide some food or a location. But in order to really put this to bed and put people at ease, they have to put more information and not just the basic preliminary fundamental stuff. It has to be a little more in depth.
Yeah. Shout out to Ray John, 811. Sorry I'm late. At Royal Crown for coffee. Line was out the door. It's my favorite breakfast spot on Staten Island. So I need to shout out to Royal Crown. Even the owner who gave me an attitude one time, but it's okay. But yeah, dude, like I said, I'm just comfortable in knowing that I really don't know anything. I was perusing his social media, and it seemed like he had a lot of infatuation with mushrooms. Supposedly, something about ayahuasca too, as well. And those are things that, like, you see a lot on these podcasts that Joe Rogan, Aaron Rodgers, right? They go and they want to open up their mind and they want to explore all these realms. And it's funny, I watched a podcast the other day with a priest on the Sean Ryan show, and the priest was an exorcist. So Sean Ryan was talking to him about all this, about how a lot of veterans use these psycho whatever type of drugs they're called to like open up their mind, and it kind of helps alleviate their PTSD and all this other stuff, and it kind of helps them move forward in life, like people that deal with traumatic events. And the exorcist warned at the time not to do that because demons can get in. And I just thought that was freaky when he said that. I was like, ooh. I was like, scary. I mean, I'm not saying that was the case either, but I'm just saying, like, it's there. Listen, there's endless possibilities and there's endless reasons. For those of you that are familiar with the Unabomber, Richard Kaczynski, I mean, his reasoning for murdering people over 17 years and sending bombs, the Unabomber sending bombs to people's house, I mean, it was kind of sick. He was like, yeah, I just don't like the planes flying over my property. It's like, wait, what? You were mailing bombs to people, and that was another dude that was like, he became a recluse. He wasn't as like social as this kid was. He wasn't like a good-looking guy, and he wasn't social like this kid Luigi, and into working out, into all this other stuff. This kid was like kind of a recluse, but another person who was extremely smart, went to an Ivy League school, could have been a CEO of a company just like Luigi. Like, Luigi could have changed the world, dude. He could have became the United Healthcare CEO and revamped how they do business. He could have.
Well, John, what you just said is why people are taking issue to this. I think that's part of the reason to take it to TikTok is we relate ourselves to others, right? And we kind of see, a lot of people see themselves in Luigi, working hard in school and going to college and coming from a good family. And what doesn't sit well with people is that he's never committed a crime. He doesn't have any criminal history. I mean, to not have any criminal history to get to this point, and you have to say with a good family and the people that he surrounds himself with, had to notice if there was some type of mental decline, right? We see the pictures, he's in good shape, and I'm a firm believer that there is a correlation between your physicality and your mental mindset. To get in that type of shape, you have to have a good mindset also. If you're not good upstairs mentally, you're not going to be able to take care of yourself physically. In most cases, there are some outliers that, sometimes you see people that their minds have gone and, you see them in the park somewhere and they're in phenomenal shape. But for the most part, most people, there is a connection. So I think that's really what's sitting tough with people, is that this is not your everyday criminal. This young man is, in shape. He had everything going for him. Educated, good family, a lot of friends, and to never commit a crime and get to this point. And that's why it's really important. They have to pump out information constantly. The NYPD needs to pump out information to put people at ease and to stop people to take, is it their right to go to TikTok and have their own theories? Of course. But really to put people at ease and ease the tensions and anxiety is to provide information. Information is the key, right? People don't like to be sitting in the dark. You have to provide the information. So VSS Ventura's, shout out to you. Good morning. Coffee and donuts. Here we go. $20. He says the healthcare system is very much broken and needs reform. Absolutely. I mean, hands down, brother. I agree. I mean, I've experienced myself. When when I was in Thailand for 3 months, living out there. I was doing jiu-jitsu, and I had gotten bad bursitis in my elbow. John, remember I told you I was on the phone? I said my elbow blew up like the size of a bowling ball. And I remember I was at a cafe. I was with my wife and kids, and I'm like, I gotta go check this out. So they're sitting in a cafe and doing schoolwork. I'm like, you know what? I jumped on a scooter. It's like there you can take a scooter, like an Uber, and jump on a scooter. And I went to the emergency room. And within less than 90 minutes, I was in and out. They sent me to an orthopedic. He put the needle in my arm, drained out all the liquid, bandaged me up, gave me a prescription, and I paid for the entire thing. It was $63. I'll never forget. It was $63 American money. I got on the scooter, went back. My wife and kids are still hanging out in the cafe doing homework, and I was already done. And it cost me $63. So it would be no copay. I didn't need insurance. And the finest doctors. The doctors were fantastic. Even when I went right to the representative at the desk, she knew right away. Oh, I see what's going on. It sent me right to the orthopedic. You can't do that in America. You go to the ER, you're waiting for hours, especially in New York or LA or Metropolis. You're waiting for hours, and you're not going to an orthopedic. They're going to wrap you up with fake Band-Aids, and then you'll have to go see an orthopedic. Right? If you have an HMO, then forget about it. If you don't have a PPO, you can't go right to the doctor. You need a referral. So it's a nightmare. Shout out to you, VSS Victorious. I agree. And he continues on and says, that said, it's because we're allowed it to be subsidized so heavily that it creates a bureaucracy that makes costs rise and puts a massive strain on the system. Absolutely. I just want to say I traveled in Brazil for a couple months. I was in Thailand, Malaysia, Bali, all over. And people say, oh, this is the greatest country in the world. And they're right in many ways. But it's also a lot of propaganda, too. I mean, I've been to some of these countries, and a lot of the propaganda of what you hear about these countries is not true. The medical was excellent. The people were some of the nicest people I've ever met. And there I felt very free also. So, when someone said, this is the, I think you, John, I think you said it, or it was in the manifesto, this is the 42nd or 43rd unhealthiest country, or healthiest, however you look at it, healthiest country in the world. That's not too good to be the most powerful nation. That's not that good. And then shout out, somebody else left us here some coffee and donuts. Who was it? 516 Diecast, $1.99. Keep up the great work. Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
So I mean, listen, I hear what everybody's saying. I have my own issues with the healthcare system. I have my own issues with politics, and particularly around New York City. I have my own issues with the New York City Police Department and how I was forced from my career. And there's hundreds of people on here right now that have issues with the New York City Police Department and the politics in New York City, and issues with the healthcare system as well. But what this kid didn't solve any issue. It didn't solve one issue. It didn't solve like a minor issue. It didn't solve like a stick point in the healthcare system. It made absolutely no sense. I think, mental illness is a horrible thing, and it's very hard to understand. I think our mental, like the programs we have to deal with mental health in America just are not good. I agree with you that yes, physical fitness correlates and helps with mental health, but not when you're really sick. Because like I said, one of my uncles was a monster, dude. This dude worked out every day of his life. He was a complete monster, but he was schizo. Guy worked out every day of his life. He looked like a bodybuilder, complete schizo, and he would go on tirades, dude. And it was just, he was a dangerous guy, bro. Like that's the only way I could put it. He was a monster and he was dangerous, and it was his mind that made him dangerous. When he was fine, he was a great person. He was a loving, caring person. He cared for his family. He cared, he took care of people. He was nice to people. When he went into a schizophrenic state, he was dangerous, dude. He walked up one day. My grandmother had a 3-family in Sunset. He lived in one apartment. My grandmother lived in another apartment, and his brother, one of his 6 brothers, lived on the 3rd floor. He knocked on the brother on the 3rd floor's door one time. Knocked on his door. My uncle opened the door. He knocked my uncle out cold, broke all his teeth, broke his nose, punched him in his face. So my uncle didn't even know what happened. He woke up on the floor in a pool of blood. So he tells my grandmother, he's like, I don't know what happened. He just came up here. I opened the door. He punched me in the face, and he's like, I'm in the hospital. I'm getting my teeth put back in my mouth. Like I don't even know what happened. He's crazy. And so my grandmother went to my other uncle, and she said to him, she was like, why'd you do that to your brother? And he's like, he's dealing drugs upstairs, and if I find out he does it again, I'm going to kill him. And my uncle was not dealing drugs upstairs. It was just this thing that he had in his mind. It wasn't real. It didn't happen. And so it's the mind's a scary place, dude. It really is. It's a scary place. And then there was like a mafia run bar down the block from my grandmother's house. And one day he just gets it in his head that these guys want to kill him. He's not a mobster. He has a good job. He has nothing to do with these guys. Nobody wants to kill him. They're all scared of him because he's a maniac. And he walks in the bar and he just starts beating people up. And they stab him. They shoot him in his face. He's chasing people out of the bar with a bullet in his face. And and nobody till today, they never, after that, it was fine. He lived. He had a bullet in his jaw the rest of his life. But nobody to today could explain why either of those two things happened. Why'd you beat up your brother for no reason? I don't know. Why did you enter that bar and think that those guys were after you? I don't know. And when I see this, why did you go after Brian Thompson? I don't think we're ever going to get the answer.
Well, John, again, since we're talking about insurance and stuff like that, and again, we don't know if that's completely the motive when it comes to Luigi Mangione potentially being the alleged shooter to take the life of Brian Thompson. It's important to talk about this country when it comes to medicine. You're a prime example. You say it all the time. You give your story that a Z-Pack pretty much saved your life, but the lengths and the measures you had to go through to get a Z-Pack is ridiculous. Because I travel, like you said, I traveled all over the world. I could be in Thailand or Bali, and I could, I could walk right into a store, and I could order antibiotics right at the counter, and the pharmacists there are so knowledgeable. Even more knowledgeable than some of the doctors. You go to a pharmacist in Thailand or Bali in Indonesia, and you go to the pharmacist, and they will tell you exactly. You tell them your symptoms. It's almost like going to Teledoc, but you actually someone person to person. You tell them your symptoms, and they'll tell you exactly what you need, what to take, the dosage, what to eat. And you know what? It costs you peanuts. You don't need a prescription. You order it right there. What is the big deal? In this country, it's such a big deal to get antibiotics. I mean, they make like it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. We have all the stuff lock and key, right? Like, so, we it's almost like we entice people to misuse it. I mean, I was amazed. I'll never forget. I was in Thailand, in Phuket, by the beach, and it was a pharmacy. And again, I needed stuff for my elbow. I mean, I saw a vet. She's saying that if you would have babied it, then it would have drained. But I couldn't. I was out there competing, so I had to get it done and wrap it up. And I walked into this pharmacy, and I needed some, and it was empty. And I'm like, where is everybody? So the girl working at the counter, I mean, this is a little bit off, but just to show you like different mindset. The girl working at the counter had to go to the bathroom. She left, and it was myself, and I think it was one other person in the store, and nobody touched a thing. No one. She literally left to go to the bathroom. She must have been gone for at least 5 minutes. She came back, and it was like nothing. Nobody touched a thing. And some people probably say, "Oh yeah, because they'll probably chop your hand off," right? Not really. It's just the culture and community. It's amazing. And it's not a big deal. You want antibiotics? You order antibiotics. It's not a big deal. You don't have to go all through all these giant hoops. Patrick Donahue, shout out to you, brother. Coffee and donuts, $9.99. In tribute to the MOS, who were pushed to the background for the press conferences, but worked multiple days straight to identify the United CEO shooter. Yes. Step aside. Cass Daughtry needs to make sure he's on camera. Shout out to you, brother. John, what do you think about that? I mean, do you agree in this country that you should go through hoops to get antibiotics? I mean, you're a prime example. Do you think it's okay? I mean, going to the counter, or do you think it should be somewhere in the middle?
No, I think I think that medicines, first of all, I think it's way too unaffordable at this point for anybody. And I think that, we really have to bring down the cost of medicine. There should be no medicine in this country that every American cannot afford. There should be none. There should be not one medicine out there that you can't afford and continue to live a normal life and pay your bills and not bankrupt you. There shouldn't be one medicine in this country. If the production of the medicine costs that much, it should be subsidized by the government. Absolutely, there's no way that we should be bankrupting life-saving care, especially when we heard how much we really cared about people in 2020, where we were giving out medicine for free. Right? We were giving out billions of dollars in medicine for free during 2020 because everybody was so worried about this, right? So why now, And no, so I totally agree. I think there's a problem with the price of healthcare in this country. There's a problem with the quality of healthcare in this country. There's a problem with the price of medicine in this country. But again, there is the ability to address all of these concerns, and we just need the brain power. We need the energy to go and actually push back and start to get things made affordable, elect leaders that put in common sense rules. I think a lot of the problem in this country is that, and New York is the perfect example. And I tell everybody it because I have these conversations so much because it's very free here. It's very free where I live now in Florida, and people do a lot of things, even though it's becoming like a busier area. People do a lot of things that they're not accustomed to in New York. And the first thing that New Yorkers, people from LA, people from Chicago go to is there needs to be more laws. There needs to be enforcement. There needs to be cameras. And I'm like, hold on, time out. I'm like, I have a house. I'm thinking about selling it in New York City. And there's all those rules and laws in place and all those cameras everywhere. I'm like, I really don't want to live like that. I really don't. I was like, I enjoy seeing kids be kids. I enjoy it. Like, I see them do dumb things. I tell them, I'm like, yo, slow down. Do this. You know what I mean? Don't do that. When you see people walking, slow down on your stupid e-bike. You know what I mean? I don't like, that's how I grew up. I grew up with my neighbors weren't afraid to talk to me. Tell me, John, you threw that on the floor, pick it up and throw it in the garbage. Pick it up and throw it in the garbage. And that's how I learned, and I have no problem with that type of society. But, in New York, the gateway to hell is what is it? The pathway to hell is by good intentions. And the good intentions are, it's not your fault. It's not the person's fault who did it. There's no self-responsibility. It's not his fault that did it, and then everything's locked up. Then I go one day, we're all sick. I go to the CVS to go buy like cough medicine. But I had younger kids at the time, so they couldn't take the same cough medicine that me and my wife take. So we needed to get one for her. And then I think there was like a mix where you got to give the kids when they have a high fever. I forget what it is. The doctors tell you, like, you flip-flop. I don't remember what it is, like Motrin and Advil. I don't remember what it is, but the doctor would recommend, like, if your kid has a high fever, you mix the two. And I forget what it is. And I couldn't buy the 3 items because they're like, no, we can't sell it because, people use drugs and they use this to make drugs. I'm like, hold on. I could just drive down the block and go buy it somewhere else. I'm like, what is the difference? I'm like, my kids are sick. I need this because my kids are sick. Yeah, but people use drugs. I'm like, and how is that my problem? How is that my problem? And that's the problem, right? Everything's under lock and key. We have no access to things. But ultimately, this kid doesn't have any of those problems, dude. He comes from a wealthy family. He's well off. They own country clubs. He travels all over the world, Eric. He's never done anything besides go to an Ivy League school. He's got a place in San Francisco he went missing from. He was in Hawaii to try to feel better and heal his body at a surf camp, living, these are things that most Americans don't have access to. So the issues that he raises, he's right about, but he doesn't have any of those concerns. And doing what he did doesn't solve any of them. So it's like, and none of it makes sense. And that's why I say it's mental illness.
I mean, that's the only thing that would make sense, mental illness with this kid. He had everything going for him, young, not a bad-looking kid, in good shape. Obviously, his friends, intelligent, good family, well-rounded, right? He's traveled. It doesn't make any sense. The only direction would be mental health, and that's why a lot of these people believe in deep state stuff, because they're not being transparent yet with the MO. Get the motive out there. If they can't figure out this motive, then we got some serious problems. But I'm sure they could. Kaz Daughtry, figure out. Put the drone around his head, and let's get to the bottom of this already. Crazy 10-7. Coffee and donuts. Here we go. $1.99. Winner here is Kaz. Case would be dead without him. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the entire world could survive without Kaz Daughtry. There he is with the bat phone. AGB, $20. Coffee and donuts. I really appreciate how guys break things down. So I really appreciate how you guys break things down. Oh, thank you so much. We're giving our perspective. I think ultimately, what the if factor is with the way we all break things down, not just John and myself, and also, our friends, listeners in the chat. A lot of people give their opinion here. It's we're just giving our honest opinion. And a lot of times, I know a couple of people were trying to beat us up on this with trolls saying we were wrong when it came to some of the facts of this case so far in regards to the shooting of Brian Thompson. Like, okay, we never said we were right. We're just saying the way. Opinion, and a lot of times, John, when we laugh, like, wow, that thing that you said that was wrong, or you said something that was wrong. Hey, listen, we're not a newscast, we're a podcast. So give out the information. It is what it is, and try to have fun with it, of course, too. But listen, I just think it's sad at this point with this country. And what you said, John, is absolutely right. That's what's going on overseas, and I experience.
The Starlink's acting up a little today, Eric. That's two.
That's culture. That's community policing. That's the most effective tool. When I was in Bali, driving around in scooters, they barely had any stop signs, barely had any traffic lights, and I think the streets were safer than they are here because people were very respectful of each other. I mean, every stop sign was pretty much an all-way stop sign. Everybody stopped and made sure you could get through. Everybody was helping each other out. Much different. So, do we need government? I don't think so. I think we need less government. We think we need more community. We need more culture. Of course, we need laws with certain things, but we don't need the government to make all the decisions on our own lives. Absolutely not.
So this just comes out now. Luigi Mangione, or Mangione, however you want to say it, was considered using a bomb to kill United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in a twisted to-do list, but then he changed his mind, report. Accused CEO killer Luigi Mangione allegedly laid out his murder plot in a handwritten notebook complete with a to-do list of tasks needed to carry out the slaying, police sources told the Post. Investigators are looking at pages of the 26-year-old's allegedly scrawled-in spiral notebook before he gunned down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last week, the sources said. In one of the notes, which was first reported by Mangione, allegedly weighed what could be better to kill the CEO at his own bean counting conference. He allegedly acknowledged to that a shooting would be more targeted, noting a bomb could kill innocents. Mangione is accused of fatally shooting Thompson, 50-year-old CEO in Manhattan, where he, in addition to the notes, the cops are investigating a 3-page manifesto document that Mangione had on him. What he was captured in McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania on Monday after following a 5-day manhunt. The alleged manifesto include raging remarks about parasitic health insurance companies and expressed disdain for corporate greed and power, according to law enforcement sources. He allegedly also wrote that the U.S. had the most expensive healthcare system in the world. We went through that already. So, and it does label out here. We saw his lawyer speak last night. I don't know if any of you guys tuned in on that, but his lawyer spoke. So he's being charged in Pennsylvania. His lawyer's trying to fight the extradition back to New York. So he's remaining in Pennsylvania. Governor Kathy Hochul is seeking a warrant to bring Mangione back to New York City. So up to that remains unchanged as of now.
Well, again, like I said, the news is providing information. They're really staying on top of this, but it's got to be the police departments also that constantly put the information out just to put people at ease with the anxiety. So we'll see how this plays out. I mean, it's an odd case. It's strange. It's very strange. Again, why Brian Thompson? Was Brian Thompson or any employee the actual target? I guess we'll never know. I think you said it earlier in the episode, John. I think you're right. I think the bottom line is we'll never know all the details of this case. It's kind of like I think Marlon Bethel said it yesterday. He compared it to Lee Harvey Oswald. It has that feel to it. It sure does.
Yeah. I am the squeaky wheel. Truth is, I started following this channel because I hate dirty cops. I even try being a bit rude at times to see how you all respond. Thanks for showing that you all have an open mind and trying. Well, we appreciate you joining here, and that's listen, it is what it is, right? And I think that was the point of the whole getting out here in the media too, is you get to hear a different view, because a lot of the things that we were sold during 2020 just isn't accurate. We talk about the horrors of group identifying people based upon the color of their skin, based upon their religion, based upon their gender, based upon their sexual preference. But why don't we talk about it when it relates to their profession? Because that happens, right? I've been group identified ever since the moment I joined the police academy. So is Eric, so is all of us. We fit in. Are the dirty cops? Absolutely. I actually hate them more than I think most people do, than the public. We're out here exposing them every day, and we're seeking a lot of threats for it. And but it is what it is. But I will say there's not as many dirty cops as portrayed in the media and movies as people actually think. Majority of cops are good people. You have some cops that probably shouldn't be cops. They're not great workers, not great cops, but I wouldn't consider them dirty cops either. Maybe they're not up to par employees, but walk in any business in America and look at across the field and tell me that they're all great employees. It's not going to happen, So,
well, it's funny you say that because, and we're going to go into this case right here, but I think that's kind of subjective when people say dirty cop, because, being the most complained cop with the civilian complaints that I've received, many people, especially, Cop Watch and other people, have referred to me as a dirty cop. I'm not corrupt at all. I have, and the people that understand, have the context of my complaints, understand that my complaints are a byproduct of doing intrusive police work, along with being targeted with an overzealous civilian complaint review board. So, but people have called me a dirty cop and said, I've never stolen anything in my entire life. So, what's the interpretation? And, we're going to go into it. This young lady that's been accused of shoplifting, is she a dirty cop? And we're going to go into it. And I'm going to tell you no. I'm going to tell you no. But let's get into this. Let's get into the article, give our perspective on it, and I'll tell them why.
Yeah, so I mean, so unfortunately, we had an NYPD sergeant. I believe she had 18 years on the job. I think she was the vice president of the Desi Society. She was arrested for stealing cough medicine from a Target in Long Island. Uh, Real embarrassing. Um, I mean, I think it's a blight on the New York City Police Department. She was the commanding officer of the photo unit in the NYPD. She had special assignment money, meaning she was a sergeant detective squad. Her rank officially, which is known as SDS, which means she's basically receiving lieutenant's pay as a sergeant. So obviously, politically connected, well liked, making a lot of money, working a lot of overtime. In a good unit, right? She was the commanding officer of that unit as a sergeant. It's not a lot of sergeants that are commanding officers outside of being in detective squads, right? And even that they're trying to do away with, where it's mostly lieutenants that are commanding officers. It's a stain, man. I think the only thing that I think it's terrible. I wouldn't classify her as a dirty cop because she stole something from a store or allegedly stole something from a store. Um, I think people make mistakes. I don't necessarily know that this should be a career-ending, life-altering change for her. I know ultimately it will change the course of her career. She will be removed from her spot. I don't know that she will be terminated in the long run. She's obviously going to lose a lot of money. She's not going to have overtime. There will be penalties that she's going to face. Again, it was cough medicine. Does it show lack of integrity doing that? It does. If that's what happened, it does. But I mean, I think the bigger thing for me that like when I see this is like, and what bothers me is like, I think about Marlon Bethel, and I think about all the people that were terminated by New York City and the New York City Police Department in 2021 and 2022 and 2023 by New York City Mayor Eric Adams because of his enforcement of Bill de Blasio's mandate. And I think that Marlon Bethel had 7 days, not 7 business days. He had 7 days from the day he was notified to make a decision. He was accused of nothing. He was accused of no crime. He was accused of no administrative failure. He was accused of nothing. He was terminated. He was terminated non-disciplinary. Now, when we look at this sergeant, she's accused of committing a crime. You're guilty until proven innocent in this country. That's a beautiful thing in this country, right? Same held true for this shooter, right? He is guilty until proven innocent. They're saying this is the evidence. This is him. And they pleaded not guilty, and they're saying prove it. Right? Because, and I think any single one of us would want that same thing. We're innocent until proven guilty. The same as the sergeant. She's innocent and proven guilty. She will be given due process. She will be given due process for years. She will continue to get paid. She will continue to have health care. Marlon Bethel, myself, thousands of others were never afforded due process. We were never charged with a crime. We weren't even charged administratively from the NYPD. This person is going to be charged criminally and administrative from the NYPD. Even if she's found guilty of administrative and criminal charges or pleads guilty to administrative and criminal charges, she will continue on with her career. The people that handed in fake cards, that's what happened to them. They were given due process. But people who were never charged, and until today, Eric Adams hasn't righted that wrong. Marlon Bethel remains terminated, non-disciplinary, no pay, no pension, no health benefits, and there are thousands like him. There are people that are homeless on New York City streets. There are people homeless in Florida. There are people homeless around this country because of Eric Adams' actions in 2022 and in 2023. Until today, we don't talk about it enough. So when I see this, I'm like, yeah, if this is true, this is terrible. It's horrible. It's a smack in the face to everybody. And I heard that a lot of board members, union board members, are running out there to Nassau to try to squash this, running out to Target to try to squash it. Who tried to squash Marlon Bethel from getting terminated? Who tried to squash me from having to leave my career with 18 years on? Who tried to stop that? And then it's going to go back to, oh, she's got kids. I got kids. I got sick kids. I got family. I got a disabled kid. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cared about me. So what are you telling me the sob story about for anybody else? I didn't steal anything. Marlon didn't steal anything. And to me, it's the ultimate hypocrisy in the system. It just shows the ultimate hypocrisy in the system.
I think it's a great analogy. We talk about hypocrisies all the time, and the hypocrisy of the termination of Sal Greco is completely wrong. When it comes to criminal association, which shouldn't even exist in the police department. The termination of Marlon Bethel is the biggest atrocity because he didn't do anything wrong. The only thing he did wrong was ask questions. He asked questions and he hurt the egos of the upper echelon of the police department, and the union did not protect him because they're in bed with the enemy. You having to vest out and make that decision in your career to take an early retirement is an atrocity. This is such a huge comparison. Should never, ever happen. Should be reinstated, vindicated, and compensated. But I think we need to dive in. And we need to take a close look at when it comes to shoplifting from members of the police department. Because kleptomania is a real disease. It's a real illness. We need to look at the mental health of the members of law enforcement. I mean, we have plenty of, I think it's far worse. We have plenty of people in the police department that have went out and gotten boxed, drank to the point, these are adults, to the point they know they should not get behind the wheel. They get behind the wheel and they've caused accidents. People have caused other people to get hurt. I think that's far worse than this. And I think ultimately what I've seen, I don't know of anyone that's actually been convicted of shoplifting and kept their job. I don't know. But usually it's automatic termination. And I don't think that should be the case. I think we need to dive in and look at these things. Now, and the reason why I say that is, so I worked at PSA 7 and I had a female sergeant there. And she lost her career. She was arrested for shoplifting. And, it's amazing what people do. The memes that came out about her, the way that she was slandered and speared, right? She was nice looking. She was a nice looking woman, and she was slandered and smeared. And to the point it was out of control. They were putting, there was some sexy pictures of her, and they put shoplifting tags, and nobody supported her. And so I started, and I could say this, on the work side of things, she was actually a really good sergeant. She was a hard worker. If she was administrative, she did her job. If she was out there in the street, she worked. And she was actually a really good person. She used to help. I was really into helping out the Explorer program. She always helped out. She was actually a really good person. Always helped people out. And listen, she had men running after her. She had plenty of money, but she was. It was alleged that she was constantly stealing small items from a store. Eventually, she got arrested in Yonkers. They gave her many chances. Eventually, she got arrested and she lost her job. And so, I decided to look into it at the time. And it appears kleptomania is a legit disease. And usually, and it affects women more than men. And look, we're seeing a pattern here. We see here was a woman. Here's another woman who's a female sergeant. And if you look, even Winona Ryder, she's an actress. She got caught stealing an item, and her item was about $5,000. But for her, $5,000 is nothing. And usually people that have this disease of kleptomania, they steal small items. We're talking about cough syrup here. So is this someone that you have to be nervous? Would they, if you were a woman and you had a pocketbook, would they dive into your pocketbook or your locker? Not necessarily. These are people that are suffering from mental illness. There's issues going on, and they thrive and they get that urge to steal. They also say there's a parallel between kleptomania and ADHD and depression and mental health. So we really need to dive in. What's the mental health of this sergeant? I don't know her personally at all. I don't know if she's a good cop. I don't know if she's a bad cop. I know right now she's in a photo unit, so obviously she's not in harm's way. But did she sustain any mental illness along the way on this job? Because she's been on the job for 18 years. You would think if she was stealing the entire time, she probably would have been caught already. Now, I hear during this time she was caught several times. But we're talking about small ticket items. Some corn pop is saying no integrity. I understand what you're saying. But I think we need to dive into this and see were there things that could have been implemented before we got to this point? Was there signs? Is she suffering from mental health? That's why I think it's so important. We really talk about mental health to not get to this point. Obviously, now she's already stealing things. We can't trust her at this point. Should she be terminated? I'm not sure she should be terminated. I do think her career should end. Maybe allow her to vest out an early retirement. No longer could she be trusted. But my point is, there needs to be measures in place when it comes to mental health, because I've done the research on kleptomania, and it appears it's tied into mental health. And a lot of the indicators are stealing small items. We're talking about someone that makes over $200,000 a year. She can afford cough syrup. Why is she taking that? Supposedly she was caught before. Small ticket items. So what are the mental health issues there? And I think this is far worse than drinking and driving and wrapping up a car where you can potentially kill somebody. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't know how we would get into her mental health or even realize that, she was a klepto. I dated this girl when I was a kid, and she was definitely a klepto. Like, and I would always be like, yo, what do you like? Why are you stealing things? Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, your parents have money. Like, what the hell are you doing? She had more money than me, and like, she would steal. I was like, I don't understand what you're doing. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, I like, if I was the police commissioner, I don't think that I would terminate her, but I agree with you. I think it's going to be the end of her career. But the end of her career is honestly going to be probably 3 years from now when this all plays out, and she's going to get a full retirement, right? Because she's going to be allowed due process. If in fact she's found guilty, she could plead out to nothing, dude, and then she could continues on in her career, right? And then that's the whole thing. Like, we don't know. It's a lack of integrity. I don't really think the job could prevent any of this. Unless there were signs and complaints earlier. I don't know. I didn't look into it. I'm not going to do a whole background check on someone that got caught taking cough medicine, but it's like, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's a real problem. Regardless if you're sick or not, I think a lot of us overcome a lot of stuff when we put the uniform on, mentally. So I think that, I think, and being in the position she was in the years and time, it's one of those things that if we delved into it, what did Dignam say in The Departed? If I was Sigmund Freud, I wouldn't figure it out. It's one of those things. Like, the answer is never going to make sense. Probably doesn't even make sense. She probably doesn't even know why she did it. I don't even know. It's so stupid. If in fact she did it, you know what I mean? And I just think it was dumb. It's dumb. It's lack of integrity. It makes no sense. I couldn't even explain it. I don't know. I just, like I said, yeah. If she's guilty of it, I just say, look at the hypocrisy of this. Commissioner Tiss, look at the hypocrisy of this. She's going to get 3 years of due process. She's going to get paid. She's going to get health benefits, and Marlon Bethel got absolutely nothing but 7 days. For what? For what? What did he do wrong? He was held on in integrity? What did he do wrong?
Right. So here's the problem now. Right. How do we analyze things? The case of Marlon Bethel is so opposite side of the spectrum. It's so wrong. It's a complete atrocity. Marlon Bethel is a fine investigator. He should still be employed by the NYPD. That is a complete atrocity. That wrong has to be made right. And I don't think it will ever be done by Eric Adams and this administration. It's going to be a big fight. The fight that you're having right now. An attorney actually representing you. That's what needs to be done so that they can actually be vindicated, reinstated, and compensated. And I pray to God that you and Marlon Bethel and all the others that had to suffer that atrocity are highly compensated. And not because you're money hungry. That's not because I don't want this to happen to anybody else again. I want the city to feel it so this never happens again. You guys are a representative of a complete atrocity. But when we talk about other standards, right? I mean, how can we have someone that produced 2 fake vaccine cards? To me, the integrity there is far worse than this. They went out of their way to produce 2 fake cards. They lied during their interrogations. It was one. She lied twice in her interrogation. So the mindset that she had to do this is far more measurable on the lack of integrity than this case. Now, I'm not saying I don't know this girl. She could be terrible for money. She could be robbing men left and right. I have no idea. But she stole a small item, right? So you have to say to yourself, it doesn't make sense. Why? And that's why the only thing I can think is mental health. It doesn't make sense. Let's be honest. John, it's a lot harder, all right, as a man. As a man, it's much easier to be broke, unless you're that 1-2% and you're some crazy sexy man and you got all these women paying for you. Let's be honest, as a man, it's a lot harder. You got to go out there, you got to work, and you have to earn every dime you have. And I'm not saying as a woman you're selling yourself, but as a woman, you know what? It's a lot easier in the sense that men will take you out on dates, and if you have a man in your life, usually the man will support you. And here she is. She's making over $200,000 a year. I don't know if she's married, dating. I don't know if she has a boyfriend, girlfriend. I don't know what the sense is. You think if she's hurting for money, someone would help her. And this is such a small ticket item. So the only thing I can think, it doesn't make any sense, is mental health. And she just, or just enjoys it, somehow gets off on this like a gambler. It just doesn't make any sense to steal such a small ticket item.
Yeah, Stephen Lee says the job found me guilty before my criminal trial. True, Steve, you are a very different exception. You were reporting corruption, so they had to get you out there right away. So you also did not get due process. That's what you get for going undercover, right? That's what you get for going undercover and exposing that there was a racketeering extortion ring in the NYPD. That was your reward. That's how they promised you a promotion, and instead they took away your due process and terminated you. Sad story what happened to Stephen Lee. Check out the episode we did with Stephen Lee. And a lot of people asking, was this legit? Is it legit? Listen, everything's alleged until it happens. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Just from my own experience, though, this was Target. Am I correct that this was Target? A Target store in Valley Stream. So one day I'm doing anti-crime. At the time, there was no Starbucks in my command, but there was one in Target. So there was a Target there. So I'm walking into Target, me and another guy. We're walking into Target. We're about to get Starbucks. And my radio keys. And when my radio keys, there's 3 guys that are walking in the same time as us. And they stop. They look. And they walk away. And they were just about to walk into Target with us. But they walk back. So I'm like, yo, did you just see that? Those guys just went back. They went back. They were about to walk in. He's like, yeah. So I was like, all right. I was like, let's get the coffee and drive around Target and then sneak back in. Right? So we get coffee. We take the car. We take the unmarked. We drive around Target. And we sneak back in the side. We make sure they're not coming. They're not coming. They don't see us. We sneak in the thing. We get to where the security thing is. And I've never been in the security room in any of these Targets. And I'm like, I knock on the guy's door. I show him the shield, whatever. He's like, I'm like, yo, I think these guys are going to come in here and rob. So he's like, yeah, come in. So he's like, where are they? So then sure enough, they come walking in. The security cameras that they have in Target are no joke. They could literally zoom in on your credit card that you're paying with. Those things are no joke. So we sat in there, long story short, sure enough, all 3 of them filled up shopping carts, and then they ran. I had people in the parking lot waiting for them. And then I got caught. And then I got abused for 2 days that I'm taking shoplifting collars. They're like, that's what anti-crime does? You take shoplifting collars? And I was like, yeah, but it was different. Anyway, they had a big history, these guys, and they wound up getting time for the grand larceny. But I got abused for that collar. But my point of the story was that Target's cameras are no joke. If you want to pass off a fake credit card, they're literally going to get the number of the card on the thing. Their security's really, really well done.
Well, that's my point. Again, I'm going to reflect back on mental health. Again, I don't know this girl at all. I don't know anything about her. I know a lot of people sent me the picture. Obviously they want us to talk about it. But it doesn't make sense. I mean, if you are a legit thief who doesn't want to get caught because you're stealing because you don't have integrity, and that's what you thrive on, you would pick a better location than Target, somewhere that you can conceal your identity, somewhere that you could go undetected. But to steal such a small ticket item from Target, I mean, by sure, you're getting caught. Somebody put a great comment here, and this is true, by the way. Who put this here? Let me see. I want to say it's Nighthawk. Is it? I mean, man, these flying. Nighthawk 13666, brother. Target and Walmart scanners use AI, so you can easily get accused of stealing if you forgot to scan. That is very true also. That is very true. Sometimes you can be accused. You know, I don't know if a lot of people know, but I'm sure most people know. When they ask to check your receipt walking out, I mean, you don't have to have to stop for them. That's them asking you. I mean, most people do it because they're just good people. They just don't know it. But really, you don't have to stop to show your receipt. That's there's no law on that. I mean, that's you're leaving the location. You're not entering the location. It's different. You're entering the location, a private location. If they want you to show ID to purchase something, that they can do. But they can't stop you at the door and force you to show your receipt. But again, John, don't you think that? I mean, for me, I think there's something. To me, it has to be mental health. It doesn't make sense. We're talking about a small item to risk your career at Target, where you pretty much know you're going to get collared. There has to be a mental health issue. You're making over $200,000 a year. I mean, I don't know what the total amount she stole, and I'm sure she didn't do this the first time. I'm sure she probably did this several times to steal these small items. But if you look up the definition of kleptomania, it's on par with someone who's a gambler. Again, I'm not excusing her for it, but what I'm saying is, were there signs? That's what I'm asking. Were there signs potentially that she had some mental issues going on in her life and in her career that could have been helped or identified and not get to this point? Maybe, her symptoms are expressed in this manner to steal. Or it's possible, I don't know her, it's possible she is just a legitimate thief, gets off on stealing, and this particular day she just decided not to pay. That's very possible also. So I'm just raising different things. I know from the female sergeant that worked at PSA 7, it was a shock because she dressed nice, she had plenty of money, she was a great worker, she was a good person, helped everybody out. So it really was a shock. Again, who knows? But if you look up kleptomania, it's more prevalent in women. So it appears there's a pattern here, and kind of makes sense and alludes to that.
Yeah, and listen, I on the same token, listen, I know people that have been accused of shoplifting and they actually didn't. So yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, the person didn't ring the item up. They're like, I didn't fucking steal that. Excuse me. They're like, I didn't steal that. Like, you didn't ring. I thought I handed you my shopping cart. You put all the stuff in the bag. I didn't take that. And that happens, and that's happened to city workers too, by the way. It happened to my friend, and then they winded up not calling the police. Same thing. It was like a box of nails. The person actually bagged up the whole thing. He's like, wait a minute. You're trying to arrest me? Get the effing tape. And then we've had cops that when they actually broke down the tape and that had been arrested, and when they went down and broke up the tape, they're like, he didn't steal anything. You bagged it wrong. You didn't ring it up. So that's happened. I've seen that too. So it's possible. This article, I think, came out in the Daily News first, and Daily Mail, I don't know. I don't know what the Daily Mail does, but they just take everything from every other. So this is the article. A New York police sergeant who raked in over $200,000 last year has been suspended for allegedly stealing $15 in cough medicine. Sergeant Raina Medejo was suspended without pay by the NYPD after she was arrested on Saturday night in Nassau County, Long Island. The New York News reported, Daily News. The 41-year-old was charged with 2 counts of petty larceny for 2 incidents on December 7th and November 21st at the Target store in Valley Stream. Medejo is accused of stealing Zarbee's cough syrup and Ricola cough drops, which sell for $99 and $4.99 respectively. She earned $201,000, blah, 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 blah. Medejo is currently assigned to Special Investigation Photographic Unit Squad after joining the unit in March 25, 2022. An NYPD spokesperson declined to comment, except she confirmed that she was immediately suspended without pay from the department. But think about the hypocrisy in that too, right? So it's $15 worth of stuff. If she wasn't an NYPD cop, we would never hear about this. And I'm pretty sure she wouldn't be arrested.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Right. I mean, right away people would say we're held to a higher standard, but we see people stealing, taking clothes off racks, just ripping them off and running out of stores. I mean, she stayed there. Listen, there's a lot of good comments here. People have so many different perspectives on this. Drone Ranger says, how can she ever be trusted with prison property again? If she'll take $10 cough medicine, she'll definitely take things on duty if afforded the opportunity. Well, that's why I'm looking at different angles here. If there is something with kleptomania, not necessarily. People they get the urge to steal from it's almost like a game. It's kind of like their therapy from a store or something like that. It doesn't mean that they'll take things in that manner. It doesn't mean that they really want to steal because of getting the benefit of the item. They want to steal because of the feeling of it. It's some type of they're medicating themselves. Now, if she has a problem and she just can't be trusted, you're absolutely right. And the reality is, that's what I'm saying is a great comment, Drone Ranger. We don't know. We don't know at this point if it's mental health or she just has a low integrity, which is why I said her career should end. It's how her career ends. Should she be terminated? What I'm saying is not necessarily. There should be a deep dive to find out what's her motive, why she's doing this, and possibly give her the opportunity to resign, vest out, or early retirement for those reasons. Don't get me wrong. No, I just want people to understand. I'm not. If you're a cop, and you're jumping into cars and stealing them, yeah, you should be terminated and you should be arrested. But what I'm saying, when it comes to something like this, we really need to look at it and figure out if there are mental health issues. So if there are other people going forward that could be on this path, that we could help them and stop them before it gets to this point and there's no turning back. Obviously, with this sergeant, there's no turning back because we don't know. She can't be trusted, unfortunately. And that's why I'm saying it's to the degree. Why is she stealing? Does she have a problem? Well, again, this is alleged. Or can she not be trusted? Or was there a problem at the store? Again, this is alleged. What, as Nighthawk 13666 said, was there a problem at the store? So, listen, I go to Walmart all the time. It happened to me recently. I like to go to the self-checkout. I was buying a bunch of stuff, and I never get the printed receipt. I always have it texted to me. And an older woman, I guess she works there. She came up to me and right away wanted to check my card. So I was just kidding around. I'm like, "You okay? You all right?" I said, "Do I look funny?" So I was just joking around. I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." I usually don't show them the receipt. But I was like, "You know what? She's an older woman." I'm like, "All right, here you go." I was like, "What? Why do you want to see it anyway?" She said, "Well, I didn't see a receipt." I said, "Well, it goes right to my text. Or it goes right to my phone number." She said, "Oh, I never saw that." So they're not educating their employees either. So this is alleged. She's innocent until proven guilty. We don't know. The bottom line is it's really odd to make over $200,000 a year and to steal such a nominal fee.
Yeah, so let's see how the case turns out. I don't know. I mean, but again, I just like when I see anybody getting arrested for anything, whether I think it's terrible, whether I don't think it's terrible, whether I think it's questionable, when I see any city worker get arrested for anything, the first thing that comes to my head is Marlon Bethel got terminated with zero due process. I was forced out of my career with zero due process. And I don't understand it. I don't understand how we were treated worse than criminals. And, I testified to that in front of city council, and I think they were mad at the testimony, but I don't care. And I said that rapists and murderers are treated better than we were. And it's the truth. It's absolutely the truth. Like there's no doubt that that's how it was. Like they're given due process. Not saying what this individual did it comes to that. It was $15. It's whatever. It's a drop in the hat. I agree. It's if true, it's the integrity's not there. I agree. But if this isn't to the level of that crime. But I'm saying I have seen cops being charged with murder hiring hitmen to have their significant other killed, actually murder people who were set to testify against them. And they were just kept getting paid every day. Getting paid every day for years until the court case ran out. And like, where was that with us? We were treated absolutely worse than all of those people. That needs to be rectified, and it still hasn't.
John,
So,
before you jump into Daniel Penny, so I just want to say I want to know what your thoughts are on this. Someone had put a comment earlier. I can't find it. Comments are flying in, which we appreciate, by the way. I really appreciate the community. Have friends and listeners get involved. Trolls, haters. Yeah, I love everybody getting involved. Someone said here, because we mentioned the fake vaccine cards, it's a victimless crime that, in comparison to what's going on now. I don't think so. I think the fake vaccine cards is far worse than this shoplifting thing, than a Dewey case, because Marlon Bethel lost his career. John, you lost your career. Thousands of New York City workers lost their careers, and the steps that cop took to make fake vaccine cards and to continue to lie, there are victims. Marlon Bethel's a victim. You're a victim. All these people that had to change their lives. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's victimless. I think it shows your integrity. I mean, the victim there is the city of New York and the taxpayers. You first of all, you shirked your responsibility. You shirked your responsibility to your children. I could have did that, and everyone said I was an idiot for not doing it. And I was like, wait, hold on. I've never done anything in my career. With 18 years on, now I'm going to blemish my name. I'm going to tarnish my integrity and hand this in. Absolutely not. I'm not doing that. I said, and by the way, how does that play out? Because again, this whole thing was always much bigger than me to me. It was always much bigger than me. I'm like, what kind of world do I want my children to grow up in? What kind of world am I going to sit there to say, you know what? There's going to be things that you're going to have to do. You're either going to have to do it or you're going to have to lie to get out of it. And I'm like, I'm not teaching my kids that. It's not coming from me. Not while I still have energy left in my body, and I was like, I'm absolutely not gonna do that. And I what I was telling a lot of people and a lot of my friends who aren't cops that didn't understand this and really don't get faced with the same type of adversity that cops do and have to really think about integrity. They're not in positions where like integrity is actually a thing to think about and at the forefront of everything you do. And I said to them at the time, I said, basically what you're telling me is you're telling me that there's a bully standing in front of my face and I'm going to go to the bully, and I'm such a good parent that I'm going to go to the bully. No. Leave me alone. Here, take this. And I give them something fake so they don't bother me, and I send them right towards my kids. My kids are next. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not doing it. I didn't do anything wrong. I was sick. God healed me. He gave me the antibodies. I can prove it. The NYPD doctors told me not to take it. I adhered to their advice, and I adhered to the fact that according to the book that I believe in, the Bible, the Holy Bible, according to that Bible, I should not do anything to violate my conscience or anything that I know to be true. I shouldn't willingly go out and deceive people. And what I knew to be true was not what I was being told on the TV. It's not what Bill de Blasio told me. It's not what Eric Adams told me. It's not what all my politicians told me. It's not what thousands and thousands of people were telling me every day. It wasn't those things. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing it. And I refused to do it. And the same happened with thousands of other people. And to me, COVID was the ultimate litmus test. And a lot of people failed. And I think that when we want to talk about stealing $15 cough medicine or not putting up, shirking your responsibility during the ultimate litmus test, we could say whatever crime and I always say, me and Eric go back and forth. He says there's man's crime and there's moral crime, and I say that there's man's crime and there's crimes against God. Stealing $15 cough syrup from a multi-billion-dollar corporation is a crime of men. Shirking your responsibility during the ultimate test in humanity, during a $1 billion propaganda campaign to throw fear into your hearts and convince the whole world into doing something, that's a crime against God. So I'm 100,000%. It's way worse than what this girl's being accused of. Way worse.
I think it's by far more egregious because this girl that made these fake vaccine cards and then lied, she never thought about her brothers and sisters. She never thought about John McCarry. She never thought about Marlon Bethel. She only thought about herself. Is this the kind of person we want to work with? When I think about cops, I think about team players. I think about men and women that I look to my left and look to my right that I can count on to protect me in my life. Is that someone I want to work with? No. Do I want to work with this girl that's out there stealing cough syrup? No. And I'll tell you why. Because I ask those questions. Is she having mental health issues or she just has a problem with integrity? I'm leaning towards mental health. Do I want to work with someone who has mental health issues? No. What I'm saying is there has to be measures in place. I highly doubt that she was stealing for 18 years and never got caught. This is probably pretty recent. I'm not saying she did it one time, but this is probably going on pretty recent. Because if she was doing it for an entire 18 years, she would have already been apprehended. And I think this vaccine card is far more egregious because you don't care about your brothers and sisters. It just goes back to morale and camaraderie. You know what? I only care about myself. I'm going to make sure that I'm good. I got fake cards, and I'm going to make sure that my job is protected. And if it's to lie about it, I'll do what it takes. So that's the person I don't want to work with. That's the person I don't want to have in my back. That's the person I don't want by my side, you know? And again, shout out to Steve, System Unfiltered, getting terminated before it actually played out, not getting due process. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And, we have to be honest with these things. And I'm not making an excuse for this girl. I don't want people to think, you know what, you make an excuse because she's a woman. No, I'm not. Right? I'm not feeling bad for her. But what I'm saying is we have to be honest and start looking at things. The police department talks about mental health, things getting better. We talk about it all the time. Are they? I'm leaning towards mental health. You're making over $200,000 a year, and if in fact she stole these items, $20 worth, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And again, for most people, it's not even a crime right now. Someone steals $20, no one's even probing that at all. But because this is a female sergeant, because she wears the NYPD patch, it's news. It's a sexy story, right? It's a woman who makes over $200,000 a year, who's close to 20 years. I mean, the city saves a lot of money. If she gets terminated, they save a lot of money. They don't have to pay her a pension. Think about how they save, right? If they get rid of Marlon Bethel, they get rid of John, they don't have to pay variable supplement. They save a lot of money. They don't care. They don't care about any of us. We're all numbers. We talk about mental health. They could care less. We did an episode about Mark Wachter. Has anything changed? He was only concerned about that episode. Does he continue to watch episodes? He was only concerned about that episode because it was about him. Has any other changes been implemented going forward? That's why it's important. There needs to be a post-op, an analysis on what is going on. Why do we have cops shoplifting $20? She's not the only one. There's others also. Why do we have cops? Are they suffering from mental health issues? Is it police work? Is it life outside police work? Is the balance of it? These are things that have to be analyzed. I highly doubt she got on the job and she was out there stealing things and she survived 18 years. Again, but yet we don't make a big deal about, drunk driving. You can get into numerous incidents of drunk driving and keep your job as long as you pretty much don't hurt anybody. So, G.I. Bro says, why do you keep leaning on mental health? Because I think it's a serious issue. I think it's a serious issue with the police department that's not properly addressed. You watch a couple of videos, and that's the answer to it. I think that there has to be actual significant help so that we want to prevent suicide and prevent things like this, and I think it can be prevented.
Yeah, so Daniel Penny does an interview. I think he sat down with Janine Pirro yesterday on Fox. So this is his first. This is just a 51-second clip of Daniel Penny. Let's hear what Daniel Penny has to say. It's the first time I'm hearing him talk. So,
I'm not a confrontational person. I don't really extend myself. I think this type of thing is very uncomfortable. All this attention and limelight is very uncomfortable. and I would prefer without it. I didn't want any type of attention or praise, and I still don't. The guilt I would have felt if someone did get hurt, if he did do what he was threatening to do, would never be able to live with myself. And I'll take 1 million court appearances and people calling me names and people hating me just to keep one of those people from getting hurt or killed. I mean, I'm not a...
What do you think, Eric?
You know what I say? Semper Fi. It's a Marine right there. He did a great job. And listen, we know how to read a room. We're all cops. Most of the people here are active retired. We have a lot of people here, the civilians have, and we know how to read a room. And we know how to read people. You can see. You can tell he's a good person. And I legitimately believe he sounds genuine to me. I believe that he perceived a legitimate threat, and he thought he was helping people that day, and he did. There's no doubt about it. Jordan Neely's past is a reflection of the future, a reflection of what could have happened that day. And Daniel passed up to the plate he was merited. And for him to say that, hey, he would have taken 1 million court appearances, that says a lot. Says a lot about him. So, I think he did the right thing. And he sounds genuine. He said he doesn't want the attention, but God brought him there that day. Those worlds collided. Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely would never meet. But again, since they met that day, that was an adverse outcome. And Daniel Penny did what he thought what he should do, and that was to make sure that other people were not hurt. He saw a legitimate threat, and he stepped in. That's what we want. That's why we need American men to be in the military, to be law enforcement officers, to be masculine. We need good American men to step in for others and to help. We need more Daniel Pennys in this world. That's what we need. I mean, what do we want? A bunch of Marys running around? We don't help anybody? That's what they want. That's what they want. They want Jordan Neely to put the knife in someone's neck, right? But yet, where was BLM before? Where was BLM? BLM wasn't on the train that day. BLM is not in the subway handing out food and worrying about people with mental health. They only care when someone meets their demise because they see the opportunity. The opportunity is to make money. They all work for George Soros. They claim they hate the white guy, but they love the money for the white guy. Ulrich, shout out to you. A lot of coffee and donuts. Big shout out to you. $100. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, gents, and to your families from an old Brooklyn South member of service. I salute you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Awfully kind. So shout out to you, and I hope you have a blessed day.
All right, thank you. Merry Christmas, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah, dude. I mean, I think he sounds pretty genuine here. I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel bad for Jordan Neely too. I do. I feel, this kid's name's getting dragged through the mud as well. Again, like I said, I think the whole thing was a failure in public safety all around. New York City Mayor Eric Adams, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, the entire city council in the last 10 years, the last two governors, Hochul and Cuomo, they failed Jordan Neely. They failed Daniel Penny. They failed every New York City resident, anyone who stepped foot on that train that day, anyone who's ever stepped foot on New York City trains. They failed all of them, tourists, workers, residents. They failed everybody. Again, we showed you yesterday how the many billions of dollars being spent to supposedly combat homelessness, and then there's billions being poured into the mental health industry. Nobody knows where it goes, right? We all just hook and talk about Bill de Blasio and Bill de Blasio's wife and the $825 million, but nobody bats an eye at the fact that this program just keeps getting funded and we don't know where this money's going. Nobody bats an eye on that. That was never even investigated. Who's to blame for that? New York City Council, Finance Chair Justin Brannan, New York City Mayor Eric Adams. They wanted this spot. They should be doing the right thing to protect where our tax money's going. And they're not only did they turn a blind eye to it, they're keeping the scam going. And that's something that we need to fix, right? That's how we fix problems. We fix problems by figuring out what the problems are, where the stick point is and then beginning to address our grievances. We bring them forward. We bring them to the people that are doing it. When they don't do that, we file complaints. When the complaints don't work, we file lawsuits. When the lawsuits don't work, we continue and we never stop, and we work and we focus on not putting these people back in office and not electing them and getting better candidates. And that's the beauty of this country. That's how we go forward in this country. It's not by using violence. That is a last resort. We're not anywhere close to that. We still live in the greatest country in the world. For all the horrors that happened in the last 4 years and 2020 and all the nonsense we dealt with, we still couldn't shine our grandparents' shoes to the world that they lived in, the life that they've had. We've had the easiest existence on earth. If you are poor today in America, you lived better than a king did 200 years ago. So, I mean, we are a soft, weak generation, and we still live in the greatest country in the world. What you got to do is get out there and start telling people, what do you want me to do? Be a man, be a parent, tell the truth, be a citizen, stop shirking your responsibility. That the world will change. Believe me.
The world has changed. The world has changed. Men have changed. I think it was Crow Eater. Pretty funny over here. Let me find it. Damn, these things flying. The liberal soy boy sissies in New York City are afraid of their own shadows. No way they'd step in to protect anyone. Absolutely. We watched, I think it was in the Bronx, right? There was a woman sitting on a bus while some animal cretin is masturbating behind her, right? That's someone's mother. That's someone's wife. That's someone's sister. And not one man stepped in. Not one man stepped in. I can tell you right now. I don't care about Daniel Penny. If I'm on that bus, I'm stepping in because that's someone's mother. That's someone's wife. This animal is masturbating right behind it, and that one person stepped in. I'm not saying that you had to grab him and put him in a chokehold, but that one person stepped in and intervened, or at least let that lady know that there's some cretin behind you to at least get up and move. That one person stepped in. World War II was the best generation ever. You talk about things getting better. Absolutely. Men have gotten soft. We have a lot of outliers out there. We still have men with testosterone, but the overwhelming majority, I see the kids today. I look around. I go to the parks with kids. I'm like, oh my God. I see some of these young teenagers. John, I think I called you one day and we talked about it. I'm like, God, first of all, most of the girls look much tougher than the boys. I'm like, what is going on here? This is insane. I come from a deity, a family of military service. My grandfather lied about his age to get into the army. That was what people wanted to serve. He lied. He went into the army when he was 16 years old, lied about his age. You can't do that today. But because he wanted to serve, they wanted to be masculine, wanted to be alpha because they cared. They wanted to have a life of service. And Daniel Penny has given his country a life of service. So we need to honor him also. He was completely discriminated against for being a white male, for being also military. Instead of honoring him and giving him the benefit of doubt and saying that he served his country as an alpha male and cared about it and why did he take these actions. But again, they used it to manipulate the system. These are people that have no integrity. These people are total creeds that don't care about society. Is it unfortunate Jordan Neely lost his life? Of course it is. I don't want to see anybody die. It's sad. Listen, I've been to numerous homicides. So have you worked in the police department. And I seen some people that are like complete animals. And you used to tell me to suck my soul. You know what? I can't say it. Every day, this is what people would tell me. And then I responded to their homicides. Look at the guy like, damn, wow, that's sad. You know what? I wasn't saying, haha, look what happened to you. No one's saying that. No one's happy Jordan Neely lost their life. But you know what? BLM and these other advocates are capitalizing on his death. They don't care about Jordan Neely. They don't care about Daniel Penny. They probably actually like Daniel Penny better than they do Jordan Neely if Daniel Penny had an opportunity to make the money, because that's all they care about. These people are animals. And again, we need good, fine, strong men. We should want our men and our women, but ultimately our men. We should want our men to be strong out there so that we have, the more men that you have that are strong, the less likely people will take action. You have all soy boys running around, you know what? Then you will have people trampling all over other people. But if you have a pack of wolves and you look around, you're not going to mess with that pack of wolves.
Yeah, so what do we got? 100. We're on here about an hour and 30 minutes. I think last story we'll bring in. We got about 600 people on here. Thank you for joining us this morning. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, share this space out if you can appreciate it. We've been under heavy censorship like the last 2 months. I don't know why. I know we were getting a lot of frivolous, nonsensical complaints, and that kind of eased up. But if you could just help us break that algorithm, we kind of been stuck in a box, especially those of you on X. If you could retweet it out, like it, we appreciate it. Same for YouTube. If you could like and subscribe, appreciate it. But yeah, so something weird, right? The other night, my buddy's texting me, and he's like, "Bro, what's Kaz doing? Kaz's angels are all over my house." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "There's drones all over my house." He's like, "Look," and he goes outside and he sends me a video. And there's drones like flying over all the South Shore of Staten Island, like a ton of them. But at the same time, I'm looking at Twitter and there's complaints in Brooklyn about these drones. But I'm thinking that like maybe the department's like doing a training system. Maybe they're not. But it's also happening in Jersey too. And a lot of people are complaining about it. And the people are saying that these car-sized drones are flying above their home and actually changing like things in their home, like the times on the clocks. This is like, I haven't really been paying attention to any of this stuff. So I just heard about it. I just thought it was weird because my friend sent me the video of it. And then he also sent me this, like, this is a congressional hearing about these drones. And then I'm like, it kind of piqued my interest. So listen to what the FBI director has to say about, I'm going to call them UFOs. I personally, do I think that there's life out there? Yeah, I do think there's other life out there. I don't think this is the issue we're dealing with. I think this could possibly be a prank. This could be foreign actors. This could be kids, like, I don't know, a bunch of gamers getting together. I don't know what this is, but it's scary. It's dangerous. I think it needs to be corrected immediately. And from the NYPD, who has just spent millions of dollars purchasing a fleet of drones, I have no idea why these things weren't taken down, properly identified, and figured out already when they flew over New York. So here's the FBI director talking about these drones. I'm sorry, this ain't the FBI director. This is a chairman, but he's speaking to a member in the FBI.
What is going on in New Jersey?
So, sir, the FBI and our Newark field office, along with the state and local partners there, the Bureau is actively investigating the situation you mentioned, just the unexplained sighting of drone activity over that part of New Jersey, including proximity to sensitive sites and areas of concern. So we do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights. But we're actively investigating. What the Bureau has done to aid our state and local partners is what we generally do, enlist the help of the interagency, enlist the help of the public. There's a tip line there, that 1-800-CALL FBI, tips.fbi, for information from the public that could help us resolve this. It is concerning.
Is the public at risk? Is public safety at risk? Are we concerned that there are nefarious intentions that could cause either national security or a public safety incident that would put Americans at risk?
There's nothing that is known that would lead me to say that, but we just don't know, and that's the concerning part.
What do you think about that? So it's testimony from a member of the FBI in New Jersey.
I got to be honest. I don't have any, I see this case right now with the FBI coordinated with the NYPD to apprehend Luigi Mangione. It's a good coordination effort, but on a whole right now, I don't have too much trust in the FBI as we speak. I mean, his testimony didn't seem very genuine to me either. I mean, I don't know what's going on with it, but it does appear it could be nefarious. It sounds very strange. And the fact that they don't see an urgency to actually probe this, to actually find out what's going on, it doesn't seem very credible. I've been trying to figure out what's going on here, but it doesn't seem right. It seems really off to me, and I don't think his testimony is very genuine. Richard Kentav says the FBI not knowing is not surprising. Not surprising. I agree. If they don't know, why do they not know? Why do they care not to know? This is scary stuff right now. And someone put out here right now, the drone technology of Iran is far surpassing what's going on with America. You're right. I mean, Iran, China, their capabilities are crazy. We really got to delve into this. But I honestly just don't have trust in the FBI right now. What about yourself?
I don't really even care about the FBI here. I'm sitting here. I see the officers next to them. Where the hell are the police departments? I mean, like, I'm sorry. Like, I would be, if I was in charge of any of these departments, I would be informing the FBI of what happened and how we took it down. And here it is. And, we're having trouble doing forensics on it. Could you help us? Could you help us figure out where this came from? I don't understand why they weren't taken down. That's my problem. That's to me. So, like, I'm not shocked the FBI doesn't know anything, because I don't technically think they should, because we don't really see the FBI out there patrolling, responding to emergencies, responding to 911 calls. There were numerous calls put out in both New Jersey and Brooklyn and Staten Island. Why weren't these drones taken down, and at least one or two of them taken down for observation? Like, what's going on? Why don't we have them on camera? Where's that evidence? So I don't really blame the FBI at all. I'm blaming a failure in law enforcement as a whole. I think it starts with the local agencies. I think that's what it starts. It starts in, this could, we talk about doing dry runs. This could possibly be a dry run for a terrorist attack. This could be a dry run for a lot of different things. And, it should have never been allowed to happen. It should have, the first minute they went up into our airspace, they should have been brought down, right? When a father puts up a drone during the Thanksgiving Day parade in Central Park and we're locking him up almost immediately, but yet dozens of drones are flying over your house, messing with your electronics, and we're not doing anything about that. Very strange. Could it be a government task? I don't know. Maybe. Could it be? I don't think so. And regardless, it doesn't matter. Government should know better than to do it in spaces. The government should know better to do it in spaces where there's a heavy law enforcement presence, and law enforcement won't tolerate it, and they'll bring it right down.
Well, absolutely. The local agencies absolutely should be involved. But I do think the FBI should be probing immediately. We talk about national security when it comes to this stuff. Could it be nefarious? Could it not? You're absolutely right. It just shows there's no standard anymore. We're locking up some father who's flying around a drone, in comparison to this. I just think that they should have to take at least one or two down, at least investigate it and figure out, who's operating it, where it's coming from, what's the purpose, what's the mission, what's the significance of it. Is it for entertainment purposes, or actually is there something nefarious going on here? And this is why we have to be very careful with these drone programs. If these drone programs become the nomenclature of our law enforcement agencies throughout the country, if that's their first go-to, then it really does open that gate for a lot of nefarious other drones to be undetected and to kind of, chameleon themselves into this. So it could be for nefarious reasons. Stephen S. says nefarious, a great movie. Yeah, we always use that word. It is. You have to look at it. Local law enforcement agencies should get involved. So I'd like to know at this point, what type of training are local law enforcement agencies getting about the knowledge of drones, what they should see and recognize, and are there indicators that that drone is for nefarious purposes? So, and FBI absolutely should get involved, and they should know. The excuse of not knowing, especially right now when there's so much turmoil in the world with China, Iran, and what's going on in Israel, absolutely they should know. Absolutely. They have to have their finger on it. And again, I don't have too much faith and trust in the FBI. They're more worried about what's going on in January 6th than what's going on right now.
Yeah. Corn Pop says top secret government program. Possibly, but I'll tell you right now, if I'm the police chief, they ain't coming in my neighborhood because I'm taking those things down. I might not ever get any information back from the federal government, but they're going to waste a whole lot of money, so, it really is. To me, it's a failure in local law enforcement to identify these things and at least identify. If you couldn't get them down for whatever reason, that the capabilities of your drones are outmatched by those capabilities, and then that's a big problem. There's another problem that we identified too, because if that's the issue, that is a national security threat right off the bat. That is something that the police commissioner should be all over this. This is also in relation to this interview right here. Listen to this one. If the hair on the back of your neck isn't standing up now, it's gonna.
Congressman Chris Smith, his constituents have been reporting drone activity over recent days. It's been happening over several weeks. Congressman, good to have you with us. The White House not ruling out anything, not giving us any answers. Neither did this hearing that we just heard some questions in. What is going on here, and when can people expect to get some answers from our leaders?
They should have had them immediately. Last night, I was on the beach with Sheriff Mastronardi, and he's doing a magnificent job in trying to ascertain a threat for this. He's the Ocean County Sheriff. Sean Golden's doing the same thing in Monmouth County. So I was there on the beach, and I talked to several people, including a commander for the Coast Guard, who told me that the night before, I was there last night, so 2 nights ago, one of their 47-foot boats, was trailed very closely by more than a dozen of these drones. Now that, to me, is very, very not just suspicious, provocative, and this could be a foreign power, whether it be Putin, or whether it be Xi Jinping in China, or the Middle East. We can't rule any of that out.
Yeah, this is incredible.
It's
so
incredible.
A United States Coast Guard boat testified to you that 12 drones were following it in the water in the Atlantic Ocean. Did they tell you anything about the size, what they look like? Were they able to get images? How close were they?
They were pretty large, and they weren't far off the stern. So it's very, very troubling. I called the joint base and talked to the commanding officer there and asked, we know we have the capability within DOD to ascertain where it's coming from, even bring it down, and they have it, but they don't have the, quote, authority to do it.
What, from
so
who? See, this is the question, Congressman. So when you're out over the ocean and you have 12 of them out there, I think, it's a very reasonable question. Why weren't one of those drones trailing the Coast Guard ship shot down over the ocean and grabbed and checked out?
Well, again, the capability to do that in a way that could retrieve what it is and who's doing it, it resides within the DOD. They have it. I've asked the commanding officer to get that authority. I've written Lloyd Austin to ask him to give that authority. I mean, this could be the beginning of something, or it could be nothing. Who knows? But how dare they allow us to live? I just listened to the White House spokeswoman.
Say nothing.
They got nothing to tell us.
Unbelievable.
And we have the capability. And the night before, I was there last night till late. The night before, one of our police officers, again working for Sheriff Mastronardi, chronicled 50 coming from the ocean onto land. 50.
This is
this is really serious stuff.
It's insane. It's like a sci-fi movie, and it could be a hoax, but it's so large, the number of them.
There's probably a ship.
It's a foreign entity. It's something that the U.S. knows and understands, or it's some kind of massive hoax with lots of people involved. But whatever it is, we absolutely have to know. So, this lack of answers is absolutely
Martha,
really
there's no
upsetting.
way it's a hoax. We have foreign powers, especially China, Putin, Russia, and
we already,
Middle East.
we watched the balloon go across and didn't shoot it down until it was well out over the ocean. So let's hope we can get it right this time. It's already very late in that process. Unbelievable. I had one.
That's wild stuff. What's interesting about this, right? We talk about Kaz Daughtry all the time, and Kaz Daughtry always talks about this legacy, this program of utilizing drones when it comes to police work. But what we haven't heard is what's the counterterrorism effort from the NYPD or other law enforcement agencies to potentially combat these potential nefarious drones. Is there any protocol that's been implemented on these police departments throughout the country on, what's the protocol to potentially take one down or shoot one down? I mean, where's that guy in Florida? What's his name again? That's the guy that we need. He'd probably just shoot them down. What's his name? Grady? What's that?
Judge Grady, Sheriff Grady.
Sheriff Grady. He'd probably shoot them down. But seriously, all kidding aside.
Grady Judd, right?
There's somebody who would probably take his gun out and just shoot at it. But you know what? And listen, the people love him. But the bottom line is, what is the protocol? Is there any procedures, policy taking place to make the determination on what is potentially a suspicious drone, and when do we take action? We need to know, is there a Fourth Amendment right when it comes to someone's drone before taking it down? I'm curious of what the protocol is, because all we hear from Cass Daughtry is utilizing drones, but how do we also combat potential nefarious drones? This is quite interesting. It's a little scary talking about 10 drones hovering around the Coast Guard. Very interesting when it comes to China. I do think that, things are very, there's a lot of tension with China right now. Do I believe that there would be an all-out boots on the ground war with China? Absolutely not. I don't think there would. I think that would be the end. First of all, if there was a boots on the ground war with China, we would lose very badly. Unfortunately, we would. The manpower. And if you look at our history, boots on the ground wars, we didn't do too well. I mean, I'm not saying we did great. I mean, our men and women are out there fighting, but we didn't do too well because we're going to other soil. I mean, look at Vietnam and jungle war and what's going on in Iraq and Afghanistan. We lost a lot of good men and women, service members of our country. And, I've been there for myself, overseas, a lot of confusion. We don't do too well when it comes to boots on the ground because we're on other people's soil, especially with China, with the boots on the ground that they have. It's going to come down to technology and stuff like this, these drones, we have to really take a look at. So what is the protocol? What is the procedure? How do we take action? What do we do?
What do you mean? I just told you what they do. They bring the drone down and they lock up a father with his son on Thanksgiving because he was taking photos in the air. A guy never been arrested in his life. That's what they do. Why didn't it happen here? And that's the whole thing. I'm gonna push back a little bit with the wars though, because a lot of the wars, it's the politics that killed the ground mission. When you look at Vietnam, we would have closed out Vietnam if it were not for the politics very quickly. But we allowed them to continuously go back to a place we couldn't go, regroup, and then after a time period of that, we lost that war. That was probably one of the worst terrains ever, right? That was their home. We weren't even familiar with it. That war would have ended quickly if not for the politics. And that's like.
You're right. Hands down, I agree with you. The politics really intercept. I watch a lot of good specials about Vietnam. The politics really hurt. When it came to the Vietnam War, absolutely, you're 100% right. They really hindered the manpower. They hindered the capabilities, and we saw it going through different presidencies. You're absolutely right.
So real quick, I want to get through this article, and then I just want to get on one more thing I forgot about. Sal Greco put something out today. I think we just got to talk about it real quick because I just think the wording in this smear letter is it's bothering me because it's similar wording. But let's get through this article real quick. Security experts share startling theory about who may be behind mysterious drones in New Jersey and why. This comes out from Steve Jankowski. This was just published. So here we go. The mysterious drones that have been tormenting New Jersey residents for weeks could be part of a top secret government program, security experts told the Post, as lawmakers push for answers over the troubling sightings. The feds have been mum about the daily drone activity in Morris, Passaic, Bergen, Hunterdon counties and beyond since the gizmos were first spotted on November 18th. But several experts from the United States government might be behind the unsettling flights, which could be part of a super secret military program meant to test new hardware before it hits the battlefield. Well, if it's secret, they're doing a terrible job of keeping it actually secret. My first guess is they are potentially government programs kept within what's known as Special Access Program, which purposely put together to keep even the most clear people out. It truly is to keep it secret, said Clint Immersion, a retired Navy SEAL, owner of escape company of the company Escape the Wolf. Yeah, it's to keep it secret, so let's cause national stir and attention on it. Got it. That's why the government, like, we don't know. They're being truthful, he said. Adding the circle could be as small as a dozen officials that don't even know the program exists. Emerson says it's impossible to know what the drones might be doing, but he suspects the secret is the technology they're carrying, not the devices themselves. It could be different types of collection capabilities, so different types of cameras, like high-definition infrared or thermal, he said. A second payload, for instance, could be hardware that grabs all the cell phone data in a given environment. How much data can we collect with this? Let's see. Let's say we got 10 drones that fly in a grid. How much cell phone traffic can we pick up? Not actual conversations, but just the signatures of millions of cell phones. What 10 drones can pick up going over an area. It's a legitimate test, he said. They're not invading your privacy. This guy's very confident in all these statements. Really? I would think that they're grabbing every piece of data point on your phone. But whatever. He seems very confident. They're not invading your privacy. That's legitimate data. And that's an effing capability. All right, dude. And what I swore an oath to the Constitution, so I support the government's right to violate your constitutional rights. Gotcha. And what better place to do that than New Jersey, the country's most densely populated state? That would be my number one guess. It's very close, held to the program, and they're doing what they need to do to ensure the technology actually works. The weirdest part, it's people running around. It wouldn't have to say a word. I don't know. I think this article is retarded. I don't know. What do you think about this?
I think this article is trash. That's why I was laughing this time. Like, this is trash. It's almost like propaganda, like he's trying to sell this program, which to me makes it even worse. And to me, more indication that it is nefarious because, really? You're that confident in this? Come on. That's trash. But I appreciate the entertainment.
Oh, it was absolutely terrible. Oh, just don't worry. It's a top secret government. They're probably just collecting data from your house, but not private stuff. Like, dude, they're changing the time on people's clocks. Like, what are you talking about? Not private. What are you talking about? I was like, they
got your bank account. Oh, that's all right.
Nah, I swore an oath. I fought for you. It's like, yeah, all right, bro. So, but you got to understand what you're talking about here. Like, if it's a government program, it's a problem. But the bigger problem to me is I don't even give a shit if it's a government program, and I don't care if they never tell anybody about it after something's taken down. The problem I see is the inept action from the local police departments, from the Coast Guard. Why did they not take these drones down? If we have the capability, why didn't we? Why did years ago we lock the father up on Thanksgiving playing with a drone with his kid, taking photos in Central Park, who's never been arrested a day in his life, good American. Why did we lock that guy up and take his drone immediately down, but we're letting these things? That's the only issue to me. I don't care if it's a top secret program. I don't ever care if we ever even figure out where these things came from or didn't come from. I don't give a shit. Doesn't matter to me. Take the damn thing down. Let people know when they come back in, take it down again, take it down again, take it down again. And that's it. Let's play the game. And if you can't take it down, get the evidence of it.
Was he a Navy SEAL or a baby SEAL? I mean, that article is trash. I mean, just get your data. It's no big deal. But that's why I'm saying, what are the rules of engagement? Like, even when I went to Iraq, I'll never forget, they gave us a stupid little card. Anybody here served overseas, you know what I'm talking about. I don't know if they gave it later on. But 2003, I went overseas to Iraq, and they gave us a stupid card of your rules of engagement. Like, this is the stupidest thing, like to refer like when you could actually fire upon somebody. So that's why I'm curious. Like, even back then we had the actual rules. What are the rules of engagement to engage these drones? I mean, what's the protocol? I mean, it has to be some protocol that's eventually, if it's not laid out yet, it has to be laid out. For those purposes. There may be drones that may not be nefarious, but have to be taken down because it has the appearance. Do we have to reasonably suspect it? Is it going to fall under the Fourth Amendment? I'm curious.
No, I mean, like I said, you're flying in airspace. That shit should be come right down. I don't even need. It's the precedent's already there. Why the police departments aren't doing anything? So Sal Greco put out a tweet this morning, and it's related to the case of Dana Rachlin. Dana Rachlin was community advocate for Build the Block. Some people would label her as an anti-police person, but she had high access in Brooklyn North to all the commands. I believe she actually had a desk in Marjorie's office at one point as well. We actually played an interview recently on Hot 97 when Dermot Shea got abused by Ebro. And when Ebro brought up, he was talking about an incident that occurred with Captain Edelman and another cop in the 7-3 precinct where a protester, I think, went to go spit in the kid's face or did spit in the kid. He said he pushed her and she fell back and got hurt, but they kept walking during the riot. So, and I think after that point, Dana Rachlin started receiving text messages like, you messed up. We know they got that information from you, blah, 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 blah. That's all in her lawsuit. And then a smear campaign happened against Dana. Dana was also the victim of a sexual assault. Only a very few people knew about that sexual assault. And immediately after that, letters came out smearing Dana, who made the accusation. And according to her, Kaz Daughtry bumbled that investigation by doing a controlled phone call, leading the DA to said that, yeah, like they'll arrest a person, but they don't believe they have enough to prosecute because the control call was done too soon. So obviously only a few people knew about that: Marjorie, Daughtry, Shell. So Sal Greco puts this out in a recent amended complaint from Dana Rachlin in New York City, and he gives the court docket. In federal court, these documents are exhibits that NYPD Chief of Patrol John Shell, Commissioner Kaz Daughtry, and NYPD Community Coordinator Civilian Brian Adams, and others used to smear the victim. So this letter came out. It's kind of long-winded, but this letter gets sent to Sewell after that Hot 97 interview. Dear Commissioner Sewell, we respectfully request your immediate attention to a very alarming and dangerous act of serious misconduct. It has come to the attention of the residents of the 6-1 precinct that there was a potential serious violation and act of misconduct by Captain Derby St. Fort, the commanding officer of the 61st precinct. This past event was shared with us by police officers from the 6-1. Police officers are stunned, concerned, and have lost all desire to work with the captain. Here is the story. Now, guys, I want you to pay attention to the language, because those of you that have been following the smear campaigns against myself and Eric, the language is so eerily similar, it makes my hair stand up. On December 31st, 2021, police officers were watching a social media platform and saw a young man they identified as blank, it's blanked out, a gang member inside of the club Mist on Coney Island Avenue. At the time, the person was streaming live holding a gun. When police officers showed up, Captain St. Fort instructed a lieutenant and some officers to go to the club but not touch the person. He told them to check the bar and spook the kids. When they arrived, they checked the club and observed Mr. Blank in the club, but did not touch him as ordered. They walked through the club and left. Later, the social media post disappeared. It is alleged that Captain St. Fort and his friends is friends with Blank and called to warn them. Why would the captain risk the lives of the officers? Why would he leave a gun in our community? Why would he protect a gang member? Gun violence in our city is out of control. Many cops have been shot and killed this year. If this story is true, Captain St. Fort should be disciplined and removed from his post. It has been pointed out to us that Captain St. Fort is part of an organization called We Build the Block. This organization helped kids out of gang violence. We believe there is a story on this recently in the Times and profiled on WPIX 11. He has 15 kids from public housing he talks to and gives money in an effort to keep them away from violence. Blank is one of those kids. Mr. Blank is part of the gang whose members caused a shooting in Kings Plaza. It is the opinion of many police officers in the 6-1 that Captain St. Fort did not want to tarnish his program and could protect Mr. Blank from being arrested with a gun. However, he couldn't hide the shooting in Kings Plaza by another one of the group of kids. We decided to look closer at the We Build a Block program and discovered it is run by a woman named Dana Rachlin. It appears from her social media she is from Staten Island. She has inserted herself as an advocate of social justice issues within the African American community. However, from our research, she appears to have a disdain for the NYPD that is clearly demonstrated on her social media. She has openly mocked a $600,000 basketball court for Harlem children by the NYPD prior to Captain St. Fort's appointment in the 61st Precinct. We had never heard of Miss Relation, nor has she expressed any interest in our community. Why is this person who hates the NYPD policies involved in a partnership with an NYPD captain? Why is she welcome into our facilities? It's hard enough for our police officers to work in a tough environment, yet they must interact with the sanctity of their precinct with a person who despises them. It has now come to our attention that Dana Rachel's hatred towards the NYPD stems from an incident that occurred in the fall of 2018 after a fundraiser hosted by Mrs. Rachel on behalf of New York City Together. She admitted to an opioid and alcohol-laced evening and accused a guest of a heinous crime. She said this alleged crime was committed by an African-American male. Due to the work of your detectives in the district attorney's office, the crime was proven to be fabricated through inconsistent statements and video proof. Miss Rachel made a phone call once again to try to trap this innocent male, but failed. Miss Rachel was instructed to withdraw her complaint. To this day, she denies that these events happened. We were told this is all documented in NYPD reports. Miss Rachel was willing to send another innocent African-American to jail for her own gain. What a disgrace. Lastly, her romantic involvement with Captain St. Fort is public knowledge. This relationship is clearly clouding her judgment, and it has become her motive for her anti-police policies. It's remarkable that we have an African-American commanding officer who is romantically involved with a fraudulent, privileged white female community activist who hates the NYPD, an activist who is allowed to access our facilities, our officers, our children we are trying to help. Would anyone want their children around someone who takes opioids, a person who hates us and portrays our hardworking cops as oppressors of the African-American community? Yet she had zero issues with trying to implicate an innocent African-American male to raise her community victim status and take advantage of the Me Too movement, a movement that many women had suffered great pain for. How can we allow Captain St. Fort to continue working with her? This is wrong. We had genuine people to help our city, not people who want to serve themselves on the backs of downtrodden communities. Again, if this is true, the captain is more concerned about his image and growth in the department above the safety of his officers in the community. He should be immediately removed. Captain St. Fort is focusing his program towards a very minuscule part of the African-American community in the 6-1 precinct. The community is primarily Caucasian, Asian, Russian, Irish, and Jewish. He's putting his energy into this as well. It appears he is portraying that very small African-American population of young kids is the crime issue in the community. This alone has a racial component. Many of the crimes in our community are being committed by Caucasian male who suffer from opioid abuse. Does he have a program built for them? ? Or is they are privileged and his efforts will not be rewarding for his career? Making these young males a platform for his progression is wrong. These kids might need help, but don't portray them as issues. His approach is noble towards them, but his motivation is insincere. Commissioner Sewell, thank you in advance for your proper investigation to this matter by your Internal Affairs Unit. Thank you for the hard work of the police officers of the 61st Precinct and lifelong members of the community.
Wow, John, I'm sitting here. I'm like, wow. Is this story about John and Eric from New York's Finest Retired Unfiltered podcast? This is going to be the same outcome when it comes to internal affairs on behalf of our case. Absolutely. This is what a hell of a smear campaign. You know, shout out to Sal Greco putting this out. John, I'm just sitting there. I'm just thinking, wow. I'm almost speechless to the point, like, I'm listening. I'm like, wow. That had to be your first thoughts. Just wow.
I read this morning and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, this is like everything that's been written about myself, you, Sal, the podcast. It's like word for word. They don't even change the words. I'm like, holy crap. And like, so I tagged Tish in it. I said, what did I say to her about this? I tagged Tish in it because it's important. It's important that people understand who's in charge of what. I said, meet your NYPD leadership team, NYPD police commissioner. They are coward bullies who partake in anonymous smear campaigns against anyone critical of their incompetence. A clear pattern of behavior has existed for several years with many IAB complaints from people who have no connection to each other, but have experienced the same eerily similar character attacks. The misuse of police resources by men with zero integrity continues. Again, if you guys haven't read Dana Rachlin's complaint in the courts, and maybe we should even do an episode. I think we actually did do an episode on it one day, and something happened with the episode.
We did. We lost it. Remember, we couldn't find it.
Yeah, we lost it. Yeah, something happened. There was like a glitch in the system.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to do that because it's scary, man. It's like, look at the smear attacks that we get from anonymous accounts, the emails we've been sent. It's the same wording, everything. Like, I'm not kidding. I was like, oh my God, I know who wrote this. That
was my point, John. When you read that, I sat and said to myself, it almost felt like it was a template. You could take this and take out Dana's name, put John and Eric. You could take this, take out John and Eric and put Sal Greco. It's a template. It's almost like, oh, has anybody got that smear campaign letter? Yeah, you got that smear campaign letter? Because that's what it is. And it's funny how in that letter, right, they tried to make it seem like they're protecting the cops. Well, really, it's protecting the egos of these upper echelon that's trying to smear her and smear John and myself and trying to suppress our First Amendment and trying to shut down this podcast. John, I honestly am speechless. I can't believe. So here you go. We know exactly what Sergeant Galvez is doing right now with the investigation. Here you go. This is it. I mean, they pretty much left us in the dark. We have some savage animal out there right now, unhinged, hiding behind a fake moniker that threaten the lives of our children. And out their response that why they couldn't release the identities because they're worried about potential retaliation. I mean, how crazy is that? That's sick. There's some animal out there wants to blow the back off our heads and we have no idea who it is. And yet they're worried about retaliation. This is crazy. This is the NYPD upper echelon. And that's a good point, Jessica Tisch. Here's an opportunity. You had some power. What are you going to do about this leadership?
Yeah, I don't know, man. KKR, you're like getting a little nuts on the chat. I'm gonna shut you down if you just keep going because like you're getting a little crazy, bro. I like this little free speech platform, but that doesn't mean that you could just bombard the chat with nonsense. You know what I mean? Like I that's just annoying, just even watching it. But yeah, dude, that was completely crazy. You know, yeah, I mean, I think that's it, right? Well, what are we? 2 hours, 6 minutes in. I think we're good for today. Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
You know, I just want to say, people are buying into it also. When you and I, along with Sal Greco, the three of us started to bring awareness about the Dana Rachlan case, especially in the time we did the episode. Unfortunately, we lost it. Maybe we'll have to do another one on it. It was actually a good episode, too. People will call me left and right. You know, she's a whore, all this kind of stuff, the stuff they were telling me. And I said, I don't even know if that's true. Maybe she is, maybe she's not. I don't know her from a hole in the wall. But you're going off of what they told you. Again, you're allowing third-person information. You're just going by what they told us. What do you know about the case? Even if she was sleeping with every single guy, you know what? That's not the point. She made an allegation of rape, and it wasn't taken seriously, and she was smeared. She was smeared, and that's the bottom line. You know,
yeah.
Here's another Jujo. He put Labro. Eric is sipping for the criminal female cop. Listen, I'm calling it like it is. You know, if you don't want to call it like it is, so what? So be it.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, man. I love the character attacks from people that don't even know the person. First of all, I don't know Dana from a hole in the wall. I could care less about if she's promiscuous or not. It has nothing to do. It doesn't matter to me. All these people have just nonsensical things to say, and you're getting it from people that have been trying to smear her. So you don't know the facts of the case. We don't know the facts of the case. But I'll tell you right now, like I said before, I believe her more and more. As time goes on and the attacks continue against us, I believe what she's saying because the same exact thing is happening to us by the same people. And they're using the same verbiage. Like it's the same play. It's the same thing that's been going on, you know?
And think about it, John, I tell these people, like, what cops? What are you talking about? So some of the cops that were talking to me, they were trying to justify and say, oh, she's a whore, this and that. I said, what? So even if that's true, so you're telling me it's okay so if some prostitute gets raped, that's okay? You're not going to investigate it? What are you talking about? So, and then she hates cops. What are you talking about? There's plenty of people out there that hate cops, and you help them. Relly Rel hates cops, says the crazy stuff, and you won't put him in his place. But Dana Raceland, because she said some bad things about cops, you'll address it because she's no threat to you. That's absolutely ridiculous.
I always laugh at the cops that not the cops, the guys, the men. Oh, she's a whore. I'm like, but I was like, so if you had access to multiple sexual partners, could you be trusted? I'm like, the only reason that you're not a whore is because nobody wants to sleep with you, dude. That's it. Like, that's it. Like, don't sit here and tell me like how you're this morally higher person than this girl who's promiscuous. She has access to multiple sex partners. You don't. The dude that has access to multiple sex partners, which is very rare in society. There's not a lot of guys that can have multiple sex partners. There's just not. But those dudes that can, when they're not promiscuous, I mean, they could say shit, right? But I always laugh at that. I laugh at the guys that talk shit about, or they talk shit about like a celebrity actor guy that cheats on his wife, and I'm like, nobody wants to sleep with you, dude. You're not A-Rod. Why are you putting yourself in A-Rod's shoes? You don't know how that is. You don't have to deal with it. Now, if you're in that position, then you could talk smack. If you're like, well, he's a piece of garbage because of this, because I get confronted all the time, then I understand it. But the knock on women that men do, I never understand it. I'm like, dude, you would be, God only knows what you would be if you, God only knows the things you would do if you could actually do them. And you're talking smack about somebody you don't even know, Yeah,
no, listen, that's the bottom line. And that was my point. I don't care about Dana Raceland's personal life, what she does or doesn't, but you're smearing her right now. You don't know her. You're just going by what you heard because your ego's hurt. They're telling you that she's saying bad things about cops. So what? Relly Rel says bad things about cops every day. So does Hawk Newsom. Are you doing anything about it? Why aren't you stepping up to those guys? But you're going to step up to Dana Raceland? You're going to try to smear her because she's no threat to you? You're a bully. And you know what you are? I can't say the word because we're on YouTube here. You're a P word. That's what you are. When you're stepping up to her. Who cares if she's had multiple partners, if she was out hooking up with guys? That's not your business. Were you mad because she wasn't hooking up with you? But the bottom line is they smeared her. And I believe the story, and so do you, because they're doing it to us right now. They're doing it to us. They do it to Sal Greco. They do it to us from fake accounts because they will come at us with their names because we're men and we'll take care of business. They'll come after Dana Raceland. But they come after us with fake accounts. And we got the fake accounts here right now trolling us. They won't say the same people that are coming out from these trolls, these fake accounts, the same people when they see us in person, they'll shake our hand, hey, how you doing? And pretend like that they know us and they like us. But they won't say anything to our face. These people are cowards. They're trolling right here, they're cowards. They know who they are. It's a shame that they have to hide from these fake monikers. They're sitting in their basement, mommy's basement laughing.
Yeah, so just to end off, every time I go on any news outlet or anything, immediately I get smeared. Somebody gets really mad. Some high-ranking NYPD chief, 3-star chief, is in charge of probably the largest bureau in the NYPD. He gets super mad when I go on this, especially if I speak to any black people, because he tries to portray me as a racist using the same words that he used. That person used to smear Dana Raceland. So I'm just going to end with this. We're going to get coffee. Eric, anything you want to end up? This will be one of the videos, and then we'll do a routine of, we're not coming back on. This is going to be a video into a video into a video into a video. Eric, anything you want to end off?
Yeah, I just want to say, people have to understand, exactly what happened to Dana Raceland is what has happened to myself, John, and Sal Greco, completely smeared. We have an internal investigation going on now for approximately 1 year. We haven't received any information. All we've been told is the case is still going. This is exactly what's going to happen. And when we get that letter, we'll present it to you also.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, people. Live 8:05. We'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate everybody for joining us. And for those of you that are going to get big mad over this interview, shout out to you. Thanks for watching. Remember, you might hate us. You might not like us, but you're still watching, baby. All right. New York's finest.
Still a fan. Still a fan. That's right.
Still a fan. Yeah.
That's right. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. See you soon.
John, what are your thoughts on the United Healthcare CEO? I'm still waiting to find out if there was something more to this story. It's hard for me to wrap my head around, a 26-year-old valedictorian in high school, top of his class at his university, did really well from a well-to-do family, just up and decides to assassinate in cold blood somebody, and then blame it on it's capitalism. What are your thoughts?
I mean, listen, I think it's a national tragedy, and I think reasonable people now are going to have a hard time wrapping their head around what happened. And, it's going to take a while to actually get down to the bottom of why he targeted Brian Thompson, why Luigi went after him specifically. I think it's going to take a while, and I think when we find out the answer, it might not make sense to anybody but him. And we've seen this time and time again. You hear the rhetoric starting on social media, and unfortunately, with some prominent figures on the left, which is really scary. It's scary. It's abhorrent. But we've again seen this prior in other figures like Ted Kaczynski, like a Ted Bundy. You see them glorifying murderers. Unfortunately, that's something that the only way to defeat that is giving out actual information in real time as we get it, to stop all of the theories that are going to come out and the idolization of a murder of a CEO of a company.
Yeah, it's so hard to understand and comprehend. That broad daylight, evening time, somebody just is there ready. And then the fact that he's still got his manifesto, that he's got his fake ID, but he's just casually, eating dinner. I mean, the whole thing is just, if somebody's off to the point where they're going to assassinate another human being on the streets of New York, then obviously they're not even there. So there's no really putting past anything else that happens, because they're already insane. They're just purely insane. But then how insane is it for someone on the left to be championing the murder of an innocent human being over his company's policies? Where does that end?
Listen, this is the beauty of America, is there's regress there's ability to go after things that you're not happy with. If you're not happy with how a company's acting, Luigi Mangione could have been a CEO of that company. He could have took over United Healthcare in 15 years. He could have went there and changed the policies he wanted. We have legal recourse, both civil and criminal. There are actions that we could take in this country that we don't have to resort to violence. And people who are supposedly well-educated and supposedly prominent figures that we should listen to are actually advocating for nonsensical violence. I mean, this is a 50-year-old man, 2 children. Why him? Is it the system? Is Brian Thompson a symbol of the system? What did Luigi change by killing him? Nothing changed. Horrible. He stole a father from 2 children.
Yeah, and he wasn't a billionaire by any means. We don't know if he had any shares as CEO. We don't know if he had a certain amount of shares, but he wasn't even worth $100 million. So this isn't like some Bill Gates type figure, Elon Musk type figure, some billionaire person that's really can shift the needle and change the needle because of their power and prominence. This is he was obviously very successful, but again, what did it accomplish? It absolutely accomplished nothing. But the problem that I have is that on social media, do you think these people or do you think they're being honest? The ones that are saying, yeah, good for Luigi. He took one, he took it to capitalism. He gave capitalism a nod. Do you think these people are actually feel this way, that they're championing a murder? Or do you think these are keyboard warriors that have nothing better to do than just get on there and try to find some semblance of importance by throwing out an object reality, an object idea into the middle of an absolutely absurd situation?
Unfortunately, I do believe that these people believe that, because we see that time and time again when police officers are murdered for absolutely no reason across this country. We see the online hate that comes out. Good, you guys deserved it. He deserved it, and it's kind of along the same lines of that It's putting Brian Thompson in charge of the entire system, and that he somehow deserved what happened to him. It's absolutely disgusting. It's something, like I said, it's something that needs to be addressed immediately. You know, I'm a free speech absolutist, but and the way to combat rhetoric and talk like that is through actually speaking truth to fact and knowledge, and not allowing that conversation to happen without being addressed.
Yeah, I'm a free speech absolutist as well, but I think that we should add maybe something to that. You know, somebody championing somebody murdering somebody else, that's pretty close to shouting fire in a crowded movie theater. It's like maybe we should just, that's like a check mark of like, okay, this person's out there. You know, maybe in the future, if they keep doing this stuff, we should make sure they actually don't have any firearms. I don't know what the answer is. I'm a free speech absolutist as well. But when somebody's literally championing the murder, or like the woman on Piers Morgan, she said she felt joy. Are you kidding me? What kind of drugs? I want to know, what kind of drugs is she taking, and does she have any firearms? That's what I think. Final thoughts, 30 seconds, 15 seconds.
Yeah, Taylor Lorenz, I don't know how people rise. I think America likes dumb people. I don't know why her voice is a prominent voice out there. I mean, that was absolutely abhorrent. And she kind of stood behind it, that she felt joy that a 50-year-old man was murdered for absolutely no reason that she could even think of. So, yeah, I mean, it's people like that shouldn't rise to the top of media and the national spotlight. But unfortunately, a lot of times they do.
100% agree with you. Unfortunately, they do. That's why you got to tell people to watch this brother's show right here. John Macari, love guests like you, brother. Thank you for coming on tonight. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state
New
that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?
Law enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community. But who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed or call us directly on 888 901 Blue. That's 888 901 Blue.